Good morning, good afternoon or good evening, wherever in the world you might be watching. Welcome to the upload of this Excel video which will explain the use of the Excel function offset. Offset is one of those functions that some people have a problem in getting to grips with. However, I'd like to explain the use of offset and how it is constructed and where you can use it in simple terms. First of all, we need to understand that offset is used to return a result from a cell. It requires a certain grammar or syntax, and it needs at least 3 arguments. It can have another 2 optional arguments, but we'll cover those 2 optional arguments in a later video. An example would be equals offset and then in brackets C2, 42. What is C2? Well, the first argument is the reference cell or a starting point. The second argument is the number of rows that we count down from the starting point. So remember that we're looking to find the intersection of a column and a row. So we count down 4 rows in this case, in this example, and then we say from the reference point we're going to count 2 columns across, and where those cells intersect you will find that Excel will return that number. Remember that you can pause this video or go back and listen to it again, because we need to understand what is a rather more advanced concept in this particular function. Let's look at an actual example. Now here I find the number 9 in this cell. I also find the number 9 in this cell. So what we're going to do is to click on this cell and look at how the formula was constructed. Equal offset, I used A1 as the reference point or the starting cell. I then counted down 4 cells, 1, 2, 3, 4, and the number 1 in the formula meant 1 column across, and when I press the enter key it returned me the number 9. So there is an explanation there of how that formula was constructed. If B1 had been the reference point, then I still would have had to count down 4 rows, but because I was already in the column that the answer required was, I used a 0. I didn't need to use a 1 or a -1 because I was in the column that I needed to use. So let's look at comparing those 2 formulas. In this one I simply used A1 as the starting cell, which meant I had to go across 1 column to find an item. In this I used B1 as the reference point, and because I was in the column with the answers that I was looking for, I used 0. I didn't want to move out of that column. Now let's see how I can use offset dynamically, and in most cases this is how offset is used. It's embedded, as we'll see, with a sum function, which when I use offset within the sum function, every time I add data to the days or the items, and remember these might be months with sales, whatever, you can use your own data there of course. We'll see how offset is used to create a dynamic result, which means that the sum function, the use of offset avoids the need to edit the sum function formula when I add further data. So in this cell in E9, let's look at how we created the formula. I said equal sum and opened a bracket, as I always do when I type a formula. Then I said look at E4, colon means to include, as you know, all of the numbers to the next number in the formula, and this number will be found by using offset. So I said use E9 as the starting point, go back 1 row, notice the -1, back 1 row, we're in the correct column, so we can use a 0, and when I press enter it adds up those numbers: 7, 9, 14, 23, 29. So let's look. E4 will be the starting point for the sum function. We then embed the offset function using the following logic. The end point will be one cell above E9, so that the sum function adds all the numbers from E4 to E8, and that of course is why we use the colon in the formula. Now here is the power of Excel. To use the dynamic, we add a row above the cell containing the formula, complete the data and press enter. Excel will take care of the cell reference in the formula automatically, and as I mentioned earlier, avoids the need to edit the sum formula. So let's insert a row. Now I'm going to say in day 6 the items, we will say 12. Now when I press enter I would expect the answer to be 41, and that's exactly what it is. Now let's look at the formula. Excel took care of the move down one row and refers now to E10. Still uses -1 and 0, but as Excel always does when I add a row or column, it means that it automatically takes care of the cell references in the formula. Now as I said, you can use this for adding up sales, expenses, whatever it might be, so that whenever you want to add more data, you simply add another row, complete the data, press the enter key, and there we go. Now what I'm going to do here is just to look at some sales. Let's say January, just to show you how it can be further used. It's the formula that counts, and there we go, and we'll say that the sales in thousands were 2,500, 3,600, 4,000, 4,589, 3,697, and one for luck we'll say was 2,500 again. And when I press enter, Excel takes care of that. Now along comes July. We insert a blank row, we type July. July's sales were 20,000, just so that the number stands out, and I would expect that the total will now be 40,886. There we go. Remember to concentrate on the logic behind the formulas. It requires practice, and you'll find in the description below the video that you can download this video from the address in the description. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, practice makes perfect, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.